All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Madison Norris. I work for the National Association of Social Workers Utah chapter. I'm here to talk with you guys today about getting your SSW license in Utah. And if anybody has questions that come up as I'm presenting, please feel free to put it in the chat. Or reach out, throw up a hand. There'll be some time at the end for other questions and answers. But if you have anything that comes up, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. Okay, so licensing quick facts. You must take the ASWB exam in order to be eligible for the social work license in Utah. We'll get into a little bit later what that looks like and what ASWB is, but for now, that's just what you need to know. You have to take this exam in order to be eligible for your license. SSWs will take the bachelor's level exam. There's a few different options. You want to make sure you're taking the bachelor's level exam. And as for licensing prep materials, there's a lot of things out there. We have found that LEAP is a really great resource for this bachelor's level. And ASWB also has practice exams that you can purchase directly from them, but LEAP has really great BSW stuff. And then you can only practice in the state in which you are licensed. So if you want to be licensed in multiple states, you can take your exam and your exam scores and apply for licenses in other states, but you can only practice in the state you're licensed in. About the exam. So the bachelor's exam is 27% human behavior in the social environment, 28% assessment, 26% interventions with clients and client systems, and then 19% professional values and ethics. More about the exam. So the exam has 170 multiple choice questions. 20 of those questions are kind of like a give me. They test out 20 questions each year on folks that take the test. So 20 of those questions will not be counted towards your score, only 150. And the minimum passing rate for the exam is 70%. Okay, here's where I said I'd break down who ASWB exactly is. So here we are. ASWB is the Association of State Social Work Boards. They own the rights to the exam. They administer the exam. They have everything to do with the exam materials for licensure. Doppel, or the Department of Occupational and Professional Licensing, they are who you will actually apply for your license. They house all of the licensing. If you have an issue with your license, they are who you apply for your license through. Any conduct issues will be taken through Doppel. They also have oversight throughout Utah. And then NASW, so that's my association, National Association of Social Workers. I work for the Utah chapter. We protect the profession, provide ethical and professional oversight and consultation, offer test prep assistance for Utah and national. This presentation was actually taken from a national website and we had to tailor it to fit our needs, but national also does a lot of work on licensing. We also do a lot of other things, but that's not what today's presentation is about, so I'll get off that soapbox. Different levels of licensing in Utah. So there's 3 major levels right now. We have the social service worker. That's where you guys are. It's the entry level generalist social worker. It typically is a bachelor's degree plus the bachelor's level exam, and then you must be supervised. There's an alternative route to the social service worker. This may be changing very soon based on ASWB's their exam rules, but you guys don't need to worry about that. You're getting your bachelor's degree, so congratulations. And then if you want to go on and get your master's degree after you're finished with your bachelor's, you can get your certified social worker license before you get your licensed clinical social worker license. Okay, so for SSW, in order to become an SSW, there's a handful of steps you need to take. The very first step you want to take is completing the exam pre-approval application online through ASWB. It's $60 and you go in and give your information, fill out a form and pay $60. And that from there, you'll be able, this is what the website looks like. And then once you've filled out this form, which, pardon me, this is not a presentation I normally give, but when you do the pre-approval, you need to make sure that your first and last name are exactly in your application what they will be on your forms of ID that you take with you. So I've had some questions come into our office about, well, what if I have, there wasn't enough space to put all of my, my full name. It's your first and last name that must match exactly. Just the first and last name. And if you have to make any changes, it's another $30 to change that. Okay, so once you've filled that out, you'll receive an email from ASWB providing that you're telling you that you're eligible to take the exam. They'll send it to you via email and give you information on how to register for the exam. Once you register, it's $230. You can either register online at aswb.org or by phone. Here's some more information. This is exactly what we talked about earlier. So it's 174 option multiple choice quiz or questions, but only 150 are scored. And you have 4 hours to take the test. When you do sign up to take the exam, it's all administered through Pearson professional centers worldwide. So it's Pearson View's website. You can go in and schedule a time. They have lots of different locations and times throughout the state. So if you can't find one in the next week, you can probably find one within 2 weeks' time. There are special accommodations that are available to you. If you have documented disabilities, all of that needs to be done through ASWB. Just let them know and they can help you set up those accommodations. We also, NASW worked to get 2 additional hours for candidates whose first language is not English, which is really great. Okay, so then you're going to go take the exam. Once you've registered, all right, you've signed up, you've paid all your fees. Now you go take the exam. When you go in, it's administered at these testing centers. You'll go in and sit in front of a computer and go through the questioning. They usually give you a whiteboard. So if there's any notes that you need to take from your studying and you're like, oh, I just need to jot this down so I remember it while I take the exam, they will give you something so you can write those notes or you can make notes as you go. And then you'll sit down at a computer and take the exam. Once you've finished, you will get an unofficial score report at the testing center. And then ASWB, once they receive your reports, they will forward you an electronic copy of your official report of your exam grade. Now, this is where things change. So if you've passed the exam, you'll go to the next step, and then we'll talk a little bit later if you don't pass on your first try. So once you've passed, you will request your school mail a transcript to Doppel. You can do this in a couple different ways. When I graduated from the U a few years ago, I just called them up and had them send the transcript. I think you can also do it online and just have them send your transcripts to Doppel. You can also go in person to the registrar's office and pick up a transcript that is in a sealed envelope and send it in if you want to go the hard copy route with applying for your license. Okay, so then once you've got your transcripts, you've got your exam scores, now you can complete your application for the social service worker on the Doppel website. You can do this online. You can also send in a paper application. The next couple pages, I believe, show what Doppel looks like. So I'll exit this in just a minute, but your license should arrive within 10 to 14 business days once you've submitted your application. And then you are licensed. Let me show you what the Doppel website looks though, because it looks a lot different than the next 3 slides. I'm not used to using Zoom all the time, so please be patient with me. Okay, Now here's what the Doppel page looks like when you go directly to the social work page. I use this page all the time. I refer to it quite frequently, so it pops up automatically when I type in Doppel. But you go to doppel.utah.gov/SOC, and it will take you directly to the social work page, and you don't have to worry about navigating the front. And then you'll come down and go to licensing, apply for a license, and it's social service worker. And then it gives, the breakdown of what you need in order to apply. And then you can either apply online. It will take you through a portal where you will upload all of your documents and fill out necessary forms, or you can download manual forms here if you want to go, like I said, the physical copy route. Okay. All right. So like I said, this is what it's looked like in the past. It looks a little different now, so I wanted to show that to you guys. Okay. A note of caution, because it can take some time for the registrar to finalize transcripts, I would strongly suggest against applying through Doppel until you are done with graduation. If only part of your application is submitted and is incomplete, you only have 30 days until you have to forfeit and need to reapply and repay those licensing fees. So you really want to make sure that you have all your materials before you apply for your license. Really awesome thing about Utah is the state provides some wiggle room. So you have 45 days after graduation to get fully licensed without any incident. So you can have 45 days before you have your license and still operate as an SSW. All right, so scope of practice. I'm going to go ahead and read this off, but practice as a social service worker means performance of general entry-level services under general supervision of a mental health therapist through the application of social work theory, methods, and ethics in order to enhance the social or psychological functioning of an individual, a couple, a family, a group, or a community, including conducting a non-clinical psychosocial assessment or a home study, collaborative planning and goal setting, ongoing case management, progress monitoring, supportive counseling, information gathering, making referrals, and engaging in advocacy. It does not include diagnosing or treating mental illness or providing psychotherapeutic services to an individual, couple, family, group, or community. So it's really important to understand your scope of practice. As with any level of licensure, you need to know what you can and cannot do. Okay, so let's get back to if you did not pass the exam on your first try. And I strongly encourage if you did not pass on your first try, try again. Most of the time when people do not pass, it is not because they don't know the material. 99% of the time, it is not because you don't understand the material. It's generally because of testing anxiety. And there's a lot of different methods you can use to try and quell this testing anxiety. One of those is making sure to focus for keywords and doing your study guides ahead of time. So I promise you guys have the knowledge you need to pass this exam. It's just a matter of being confident about that. But if it does happen that you don't pass, you must wait 90 days in order to try again. Now, day one of the 90-day wait period begins the day after you take your exam. So from then you have 90 days in order to take it again. Now, there are exceptions to this 90-day wait period, but they are a case by case and you have to go through proper channels. Now, LEAP, this is a licensing prep resource I mentioned earlier. We found they have really great success. Unfortunately, we do not house a bachelor's level licensing prep course. We do one for the master's level that includes test taking strategies, but not for the bachelor's level. So go ahead and get your master's and we'll help you with that one again. So LEAP is really great. Okay, do's and don'ts. Do consider getting a comprehensive prep book, some kind of comprehensive study guide to help you study for the exam. This is, like I was talking about earlier, pay attention to keywords like best, most likely, least likely, first step. There's a lot of different resources out there about how to find those words and what to do when you see them. I encourage you to look for those kinds of materials. Arrive early for your testing. To the testing site, just to make sure you know exactly where you are, get a better feel for your surroundings, soak it all in before you sit down and have to take the test. Do not memorize test questions. So if you have practice questions, don't just memorize them. Those practice questions are meant to help you find the gaps in your understanding. So if you take a test questions and you get this one wrong, my suggestion would be to take the keywords from that question and look up what those definitions are. That way you have a better understanding of what it was asking and what you might have missed, and studied that way rather than just memorizing a question. Memorizing test questions isn't going to help you. There's not going to be the exact same question on the test. Do not leave questions blank on your test. There's an option, it's really awesome. You can flag a question. If you want to skip it and come back, you can just flag it, move on. So if it's giving you too much of a headache to try and think like, what's the answer, flag it, move on. That way you're not spending too much time stressing about it, but go back and look through the question again. And my suggestion, it would be to at least eliminate 1 or 2 answers as you're looking through these questions. That way you have more of a chance of getting it right. If you can eliminate 2 before you guess, at least it gives you a 50% chance of getting it right. So here's some Q&A. I noticed there aren't any questions that have come up in the chat, but I would like a little bit of participation for this next piece. I'm going to throw a question up, and if you know the answer, I would love for you to put the answer in the chat, just to kind of give me an idea of if you understand this or not. Okay, so can an SSW work independently? Does anybody know? No, question mark yet. They need to be under direct supervision. So they must have a supervisor supervising what they do. Yes, you're all correct. Okay. Do SSWs need to be supervised by a CSW or an LCSW? This may not be as clear from the presentation, but does anybody know? So an SSW can be supervised by a CSW or LSW or LCSW, excuse me, but they can also be supervised by other mental health therapists. Okay. Which exam do you take for an SSW license? Anybody know? That's right, bachelor's level exam. So you take the ASWB bachelor's level exam. Good job, you guys. Do I get my license automatically after I pass the exam? This is a trick one. Yeah, Jody. So no, once you get your exam results, you still have to apply for the license through Doppel. This was not covered in this presentation, but some of you might know. Do you need CEUs as an SSW? Does anybody know if you need CEUs as an SSW? Yeah, Pam. So yes, SSWs do need CEUs. So they need 20 CEUs per licensing cycle, and that includes ethics and suicide. I don't have my notes right in front of me, but I believe it's 3 ethics and 2 suicide per licensing cycle. Okay, if I go into an MSW program, will my MSW coursework count towards CEUs? Anybody want to venture a guess? Yeah, Pam, you're correct. No, your MSW coursework is not the same as a CEU. And then how often do I need to renew my SSW license? So I'll just go ahead and tell you guys, I almost told you just a moment ago talking about CEUs. So license renewal happens every other year on even years in September. So it's the end of September on even years. That's how when you renew. Information on CEUs can be found on the NASW Utah website. We have a lot of information about continuing education. We have an FAQ page, a frequently asked question page. We also have approved CEUs. We have different levels of continuing education. So there's some that are approved by our office that you can take that are not housed with us. We also have a CE Institute, which is housed at the national level. They're all recorded or events that might come up. So the CE Institute are CEUs from all over the country that you can utilize. We also have home study options through our chapter that you can do that are like, you'll get a prompt and a situation and you write up an answer to what you would do. Okay, can an SSW provide therapy? Does anybody know? Can you provide therapy? No, absolutely not. Thank you. And that is the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions for me? I went through pretty quickly, so I'm happy to discuss anything again. You're welcome, Pam. I'm happy to help. So how long after graduation do you have to apply? Do you mean about applying for your license or approval for your exam? Both. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm more familiar with the MSW process than the BSW process, but you can apply to take your exam in your last semester. I believe you need a form from your administration team that states that you are in good standing and you're good to take the exam. So you can actually get pre-approved and take your exam before graduation. And then after graduation, you have 45 days before you must have your license in hand in order to practice as an SSW. Does that answer your question, Logan? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. If anybody, okay, never mind, I'll answer one more question real quick. Okay, do you have to apply if you are continuing straight to MSW? You don't have to get your SSW license at all. If you're just going to go straight into your MSW program, I would suggest not worrying about taking the exam, paying all the fees. If you're just going to go right into the next level of licensure. It's not going to do, if you're not going to be working with your SSW license, you're not going to need it until after your MSW. But it's the same for MSW it is for BSW, the 45-day window after graduation. And like I said, we also have a lot more test prep materials for MSW students at our chapter. So
Madison, I'm a little bit confused on the 45-day window.
sure.
What happens if you don't do it in that 45-day window? I mean, you just can't practice, correct? But you can still go through the process and take the test and get your license, or can you explain that, please?
Yeah, so 45-day window is I believe is more geared towards the MSW and clinical practice. As an SSW, you will need to be supervised. It's more of the for hiring process. Like if your internship is with somewhere and they want to hire you right after graduation, you can continue to work for them through that time period as you're waiting for your license to come through. So if it does that make a little bit more sense? So it's just meant to be a coverage, so you can still practice as an SSW without your license for 45 days after graduation. I believe it's the same for bachelor's level as master's. Is there an administrative person on this call that knows? Okay, so yeah, I believe it's the way it works for clinical practice and with MSWs is you can continue to work as though you have your license, even though you don't necessarily have it yet, until you get your SSW. So from your last day of classes, you have some wiggle room in those few weeks while you're just trying to get your license established.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you all so much for being here. If anybody has any other questions, please feel free to reach out.